Great. So thank you very much for coming in, and we're welcome you to the Indu Trends track of the afternoon. This is where we look at the big industry trends and get our expert speakers in to give you some valuable insight into the direction of the industry. So I'd like to welcome our first guest to the stage. Morgan Monet from Facebook is here to talk about mobile gaming's next wave.
As a girl, I had a fear of spiders, but
All right, there's no sound. I was trying to fill the gap with a video because I have 15-20 minutes to talk to you guys today. So it basically shows you that the real estate nowadays is all about mobile. Games are advertising on mobile, games are being played on mobile. And my name is Morgan Monet, and I work with Facebook, and I'm part of the global gaming team. And at Facebook, the global gaming team works with game studios, game developers, but also real money gambling companies, and publishers, but also essentially mobile companies. And what I wanted to talk to you guys about today was four of the key trends that we're noticing, because I think that's what's most valuable for you to take away is what you can learn from what's going on in the industry today as a developer, and how you can apply it to your games. So the first trend is going to be continued growth. Gaming is an explosive industry, and there's a lot of things that are happening. And this growth is essentially due to mobile, because our behavior is changing. And because there's mobile, the types of games on mobile are changing as well. Talk about the different technologies and platforms that are available, VR, AR, for example, and finally talk about the main issue that we're seeing in the industry, which is the discovery. And what we mean about discovery is how do you get your game discovered by users. So when we talk about continued growth, we're essentially talking about this beautiful chart here, where you basically see that as soon as digital happened, it created something, a new era of some sorts, right? Digital enabled something that we call free. And thanks to that, a new business model was born, which is the free-to-play model. And that timing is matched with the explosive growth of mobile. If you see in 2009, mobile started taking off. And a lot of other platforms took advantage of this. Not only mobile, but PC took advantage of free-to-play models, thanks to free-to-play MMOs, for example. And today, what you need to know is that there's 2.5 billion gamers, or going to be by 2019, 2.5 billion gamers on mobile. And this transition, and you've probably noticed it, right? Like, when I started gaming, it was back in 95, and I was essentially on Game Boy, PlayStation 1, obviously, and transitioned into PC. And 2009, switched to gaming on PC with League of Legends, which had this wonderful kind of new way of promoting a game through free-to-play. And the downfall of the Game Boy, right? Like, I haven't touched a Game Boy in years, unless I want some nostalgia. But all of a sudden, this year, Nintendo launched a new handheld console. But as you can see on this chart, there is a downfall with the handheld games, that there's been growth with PC as well. I mean, we've seen constant growth in the PC industry as well, which is very intriguing. But really, this explosive growth with mobile is what led to a lot of change. And one thing we would like to share is, like, from this graph, for example, you see that the mobile growth is explosive, but where is it coming from? And what you can see here is that the majority of the growth, or the bigger 2/3 of the growth, is coming from countries in Asia, Southern America, but not these developed countries, right? So it's very interesting to kind of note that growth is essentially stemming from these non-developed countries. And 70% of that growth is driven by those. And by the end of 2017, there's going to be, approximately $110 billion in the industry? What I thought was really interesting to share with you is that in there, 25 billion is China only. 50 billion is Asia, APAC, but 27 of that is China, right? And it's bigger than the United States. So it's really to kind of make you realize where the opportunities lie. Yeah. sorry. The second piece here is talking about these changes, right? So mobile definitely created a different type of behavior. And if you look today, the majority of people playing games are essentially playing games on mobile, followed by computer, tablets, and finally, console. Here, what surprises me the most is that tablets is even ahead of console, right? So smartphone is a big driver. And what is it? Yeah, we also did a study survey on how people are, if people prefer mobile or not when they're playing games. And what you can see in the results of this study is on the left side of the screen are all these developed countries, and on the right side are the non-developed countries. In the developed world, mobile is not necessarily always the first, right? Whilst on the right-hand side, it often is, or it is majorly. And what surprised me here is that Korea, for example, I would have assumed that Korea was PC mainly. But over time, mobile took the lead. So because mobile is becoming such a big force, and because people are playing games more and more, what's happening is that the genres of the games are evolving as well. Right, so if you look back 2010, 2012, the central type of games that were there would be the Candy Crush style, very casual oriented. But because there's a shift in behavior and that people are starting to play more and more on mobile, what's happening is that the demand is growing, hence the supply needs to adapt. And we're seeing a lot of more games, and we just had a topic of esports, right? And Vainglory is a mobile game, and it's a competitive game. So because of technology being 4G and this access to internet growing and getting faster, it enables the types of game to adapt to the need of the people that are starting to play these games. And here is kind of a recap of like this shift, right? If you look back 2010, only casual, essentially FPS was on PC. I mean, I used to only play Counter-Strike on PC, never thought I would ever play games on mobile. Today you start seeing strategy, puzzle games, pretty much any type that's available on console and PC. Obviously the gameplay is different and it requires different challenges, but this is the biggest thing to note, is that there's an evolution here. There's this demand. So there is opportunity for different genres. The third portion is the new tech and these platforms. And I was talking about this 2 seconds ago. I was talking about how the internet connectivity, being at 4G, enables different things today, right? And within the next coming years, we're going to have access to 5G. And 5G is going to reduce this latency, right? And the less there is latency, the more things can happen. You can have more competitive gameplay because it's more synced to the servers, so peer-to-peer gaming will be more efficient. The sizes of the downloads can be better, etc. The experience gets better. Hence, you can start thinking ahead of time, saying that 5G is going to unlock even more. And one thing we keep noting is as technology evolves, hence this connectivity portion, sorry, there's autoplay on the slides, very interesting. There is more and more competition, right? Back in 2010, there was an average of 1,000 games created a day that were added to the App Store. Today, it's over 3,000 or 4,000 a day. So that means that there is constant growth and there's constant people creating and developing these games and more competition. And App Annie actually made a study where they were explaining that by 2020, there's going to be 3 times the amount of non-gaming apps in the App Store, right? So it is a battleground, and it's going to be very competitive for gaming developers and app developers to be kind of coming out of the top. And if you look at recent evolutions in the Apple Store, for example, Apple just created a specific tab for games, because the gaming industry is very unique, and the type of users that come to your platform are very unique. So one thing we wanted to talk about is, when we're talking about discovery, is how can you make yourself discovered? And this is where we kind of have our philosophy that I wanted to share with you today, is that Facebook is a platform where we have a global community, and people come, like, and share. And we have over 800 million gamers that interact daily on the platform with developers and with their games. Facebook today is 2 billion people that connect monthly, 700 million people on Instagram, and there's over 1.3 billion people that go through Messenger. I don't know if you were in the previous chat with my colleague Pedro, who was talking about instant games, but instant games is the HTML5 version within Messenger that allows people to play games as well. So there is an ecosystem that's there, and Facebook's kind of philosophy towards that is creating this community is very important. Because gamers, such as myself, or most likely you, are highly engaged with the content, with the game, and its evolution. Nothing upsets me more when the game I really love has a new patch and it doesn't really do anything positive for the game. It's like there is a community, we're very passionate about the games we play, and I think it's very important to take advantage of this ecosystem. And 1 out of 4 people here on the Facebook platform actually say that's how they discover games, because they discover it through social networks. They're going to start talking with their friends, they're going to see what their friends are playing. You can see on the right-hand column when you're on your desktop, for example, this person just finished playing Candy Crush. I mean, I'm pretty sure all of us have been spammed at least once by an invite for Candy Crush. And it works. Like, I see my friends playing, I'm curious about it. I want to see what they're playing, and I might want to play that. So you have the word of mouth, you have the chat apps. So in one of the next slides, it's going to be very interesting to show you where the conversations happen. You also have all these other social networking platforms. Like, I was actually having a conversation earlier about Twitter. Twitter is where the biggest kind of noise comes from on the social platforms with gamers, because it's a highly endemic audience, and Twitter is good for these people interacting with the community, and gaming people have a tendency to go there. And yeah, I'm not going to repeat these stats here, but this is the slide I was mentioning, is these different touch points. So on this slide, what you'll see is that you have all the players on the top, and then you have the whales. Whales are the people, for those of you who don't know, are the people who actually spend in your game, but spend a good chunk, more than the average. And what surprised me when I looked at this is that, yes, you see Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp here, but what you really notice is that people are talking on WhatsApp as well. I wasn't expecting that. I was essentially thinking Facebook is where the communication happens. It's where I'm surrounded by my friends. I talk with these people. I follow what they do, and I trust what they do. But actually, a lot of people discover through WhatsApp as well. Because, I mean, I'm actually part of a gaming group. I have my Overwatch group on WhatsApp. And that's how I discover about new games, new patches, new expansions, and stuff like this. So Facebook and WhatsApp are main touch points for discovery. And discovery is very important to be conscious about how your gamers are discovering your apps. And one more thing that I thought was interesting, and it kind of emphasizes once again what I was talking about in regards to the developing countries, right? On this slide here, you see on the axis, you see the developing others and developing Asia, and what you see on the ordinate is that Facebook's average time spent, right? What you can see is that in these developing countries, time spent is higher than the average in the developed countries already. And what really surprised me is that mainly the whales are coming from those as well. So as a game developer, I really think one of the key takeaways I want you to have today is developing countries are an opportunity for you. On a day-to-day basis, I work with advertisers and developers that say, I want my core country to be the US. Yes, the game is localized in English, a whole set of different challenges, but there are these gamers that will play your games in these developing countries. And they spend their time on mobiles. And the majority of these people in these developing countries have never played a game before until they had a mobile phone. If you take Brazil, for example, Brazil, to buy a PlayStation or an Xbox, it's around $1,000, I think. Someone might know exactly the price here. That means that having a mobile phone is probably a higher probability that someone has a mobile phone than an actual console. So that also means that these people are going to play mobile games far more than they would play console games. So being aware of that and how every country is different in behavior and regulations, etc., is also very important insights, because it teaches you really where the opportunities are. And when we talk about game development and the games themselves on mobile, essentially, we've identified these four kind of time frames, or four phases, right, as you will. The first phase is obviously this soft launch, where you're kind of aggregating the data on a specific market. Say you're starting, you have your new app, you're starting in Finland. You're going to soft launch, try and see how people are engaging, what your retention is, what your LTV is, etc. And once you get there, you're going to want to launch globally and really get as many users as possible. But what's really, what happens in the third phase is this sustain and optimize, where you see that once you get to this threshold of users, what really matters is not ultimately the 1 million monthly average users you have, but it's more of this revenue that you're getting by these users. And ultimately, one would rather have 500,000 MAU with a higher LTV than 1 million that have a very lower one. And the goal here, and why I'm showing you this, is that because Facebook today, you probably know that Facebook has a whole ads platform where you can target your users with specific objectives. So if you want people to download your app, you can do what we call mobile app install campaigns, where people that you're targeting, so they can be core gamers, fans of a specific genre of games, you can tell them, download my game. And pretty much everyone in this room has seen this ad in their newsfeed before. But why I'm showing this slide is because the following one shows you the way that you can shift into getting these users to monetizing from these users. And we talk about driving installs, but when you're in that second phase and you get to that peak of your user base that you want, the goal now is going to be to get the value from these users. And Facebook has developed a new solution, and it's a big game changer, where it's called mobile app events, and it's optimizing on within apps how people are behaving. So when you target with mobile app events, mobile app installs, you're just looking for people to download your game. So download and launch it once. But once you start doing mobile app event optimization, we're going to find people that actually purchase in-game, right? And what we start noticing is that the majority of the people that start opting into mobile app events are seeing higher return on ad spend, because the value of the users is growing. And here it's kind of to show in a sort of pyramid how it works. So on the left side, you have the targeting options, and on the right side, you have the optimizations options. And so in the targeting in Facebook, for those of you who have never advertised on Facebook, we allow you to have 3 types of targeting, right? You have the first one, or here it's in the middle, which is precise interest targeting. So you can target someone who plays Candy Crush. You can target someone who likes mobile games. You can also target with someone who's a fan of Call of Duty, for example. So you could go very precisely into targeting these people. But one of my favorite options is actually doing what we call lookalike audiences. Lookalike audiences allows you to select an audience that you have people in your app that are already playing your game and are already purchasing. You can create an audience from these people, the people that are already purchasing from your game, and create a lookalike audience from these people. So we're going to find for you people on Facebook that look like the people in your app already purchasing, right? And finally, we have worldwide targeting. So as I was saying in my example earlier, I want to focus on the United States, but I also want to, since my game is in English, I want to tap everyone in the world who is speaking English. So what I would do is a worldwide targeting campaign and filter with the language English. So anyone who has Facebook in English will be subject to this ad. So my game, which is only localized in English, rather than just focus on one country, I can focus on the world and only people that speak English. And what you can see on the right is this, what we call nowadays a funnel, where you see all the way at the top mobile app installs, which is I would call it low intent, because it just means someone downloaded the game and then that this person opened the app. But what matters to me a lot more is that this person actually finished a level, finished the tutorial, or purchased in my game. So we have these app events, which are upper funnel as registration, tutorial complete, and level complete. But then when you go lower, and this is where it's really game-changing, is that you get this purchase event. So I can optimize towards people that purchase and increase my return on ad spend. So what you have all the way at the top is high reach, because when you're talking about worldwide targeting, it's not very precise, it's very broad. But when you're in lookalikes, you're going very precise. It's very high-quality users. And really wanted to finish the intro today on this conversation because 92% of the biggest mobile advertisers on our platform are using this mobile app event optimization. And 50% of their mobile ad spend is being spent specifically on this optimization. And what we're trying to do is really let you know about this option because it's working really well. And we know how important it is for you to kind of scale your games, not only into local markets, but into the world. But that's pretty much all I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I hope that these trends and topics were useful for you. We have a booth, it's booth 28. Feel free to come see us. You might have some questions, and I'd rather take them on a one-to-one basis because what happens is that these questions might not be useful for everyone. So feel free to come see me after this or come to our booth. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Morgan. Thank you very much indeed.